In between meetings with some of the world's most influential leaders, President Trump also taking some time today to hit one of his favorite targets, the media. Watch.
I think what CNN did was unfortunate for them. As you know now, they have some pretty serious problems. They have been fake news for a long time. They've been covering me in a very dishonest way. Do you have that also, by the way, Mr. President? But CNN and others, I mean, not others, NBC is equally as bad, despite the fact that I made them a fortune with The Apprentice, but they forgot that.
That prompting the larger media to, what some might argue, play right into his hands.
American presidents traveling abroad typically uphold American values such as press freedom and the institution of the presidency. Mr. Trump, for his own reasons, did not.
This is remarkable. You have a United States president on foreign soil attacking the CIA, attacking our intelligence communities, attacking America's free press.
No other president in our lifetime probably ever would say such a thing.
None of this is normal. This elevates it to a new level because it's dangerous to have a president not be defending American values on the stage.
Now, we know the media is a popular target of his base, but was this the right venue? For that, let's bring in Howard Kurtz, host of Media Buzz, Lisa Booth, a Republican strategist, and Jessica Tarlov, a Democratic pollster. Both are Fox News contributors. Howie, if I could just start with you. Obviously, you've covered many presidents, and this was a little bit unusual, but I guess maybe not unusual for President Trump.
Well, the venue was unusual. I mean, hardly shocking that President Trump taking a few more whacks at CNN and NBC, but it was startling and, as you know, extraordinary for an American president to be denouncing the American media on foreign soil, standing next to a foreign leader who's cracked down on his own country's media. And I think that by choosing not to deflect that question, Dana, the president kind of muddied the storyline of a very serious, well-crafted and well-delivered speech in Poland for a guy who often complains with some justification about the media not covering the substantive record of his administration. He provided the distraction here, knowing full well, I think, that the media would pounce on this because we're so self-absorbed.
Yeah, that's true. And Lisa, I always say that President Trump keeps serving up dessert first to the media instead of making them eat their vegetables. You know, the speech was the vegetables, but he always sends up the dessert first. What do you think?
Well, dessert does taste good. No, I think it's fair to question if this is the time or the place for President Trump to go after CNN. But look, the media was also covering the handshake between the First Lady of Poland and President Trump, saying that she dissed him when, in fact, that wasn't true. So I think they're also looking for negative things to cover, even without President Trump giving it to them. But what he said about CNN is true. They have produced fake news. They have treated him unfairly. Just today, one of their reporters asked him about the debunked claim that there are 17 agencies that came to the same conclusion about Russia. Even New York Times and the Associated Press corrected that story. Just recently, 3 reporters were forced to resign over a fake news story. You had CNN covering stories like President Trump getting 2 scoops of ice cream instead of 1. So I think it is absolutely fair for the president to question CNN. Was it the right time or place? I think that is certainly fair for debate.
Jessica, the reaction from the media seems almost to make it worse, right? So it makes almost a mockery of the media. It's like President Trump, gives them the bait and they take it almost every time.
Absolutely, and then we're having our own discussion here about this instead of talking about the substance of the speech, which you're rightly to point out that he did well here. And I've said, you know, for quite some time that I believe that he actually does better abroad. He sticks to the teleprompter when he's doing these speeches, and he does, whoever is writing these speeches, I think, has some solid ideas about our place in the world, and I was thrilled to see him reaffirm our support for Article 5 there with NATO. I would push back a little bit on Lisa here, saying that those 3 CNN journalists who were fired, it wasn't because the story was fake news. Actually, the person in charge said it wasn't even necessarily that the story wasn't true. It was just that it was shoddily sourced at this point. So that is different than fake news. But this is not the venue whatsoever.
But Howard, let me ask you, because the media is under such a microscope right now, right? Everyone is focusing on any little mistake that they make. Do you get the sense that journalists are trying to knuckle down and really make sure they have everything solid, or are they still sort of flying by the seat of their pants with some of these stories that are shoddily sourced?
I think the standards have been lowered because of this president. I mean, if you look at just the last month, there's just been a whole series of high-profile mistakes, corrections, apologies, some involving CNN. CNN and ABC wrongly reported on what James Comey was going to tell the Senate. I could give you a whole list here. And also, I think the media take the bait. So CNN's White House correspondent Jim Acosta, talking about the presser today in Poland, said, well, it was a fake news conference. Why? Because in his view, the president took a question from a sympathetic reporter for the Daily Mail who had been talking to the White House about possibly joining the staff.
I have to tell you.
First president ever to talk to a friendly reporter?
No, come on, well, let me just say. So I worked for President George W. Bush. We all know that. But just to, like, harken back to then, how many journalists do you think that we had to call upon for questions, or had the president call upon, that then, Lisa, went to work for President Obama? I mean, there's a list about 10 long that I could come up with just off the top of my head. So that is, I thought that was unfair. And David Martosco of the Daily Mail actually asked a decent question. And then President Trump calls on NBC News. So I think that the criticism is a little unfair.
Well, and it's also an issue that has been widely discussed, you know, with President Trump, this war on the media, so to speak, and as well as the CNN video that he put out. So I think the question is fair there. But, you know, even back to where President Trump saying that he's been treated unfairly, there was that study done not too long ago showing that CNN and NBC covered the president in his first 100 days 13-1 from negative to positive news stories. So I think Howard is right when he says that this president is being covered differently than presidents past. And I think that's actually a problem for the media, because even CBS's John Dickerson said that the media did this to themselves, this hysterical coverage, as you had, you know, pointed in the coverage earlier in the beginning of the segment of all the different, the compilation of things that people have said, this hyperventilation. They take it so far that I think Americans really haven't, they stopped trusting the media because of that hyperventilation.
Well, but they also don't trust President Trump. I mean, everyone is not doing well here in the trust department.
Well, we didn't get a chance to get to it, but there was this poll that shows that a Marist poll on Americans' trust of institutions. Pretty much there's a lack of trust all throughout. Interestingly, a great deal or good amount of support, the majority supporting the intelligence community at 60%. The president at 37%, the media at 30%, and Congress at 29%. I don't know what everybody can do about that, but we'll certainly keep talking about it. I appreciate the three of you being here. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Dana.
Thanks, Dana.